Hey, this is a follow-up to a video I did last week on the commercial mechanical inspector. I made a mistake in that. What I did is I have two IFGCs. One I used for the P2, the plumbing exam, commercial plumbing inspector, and the other one I used for the commercial mechanical inspector. The one I showed in that video were my highlighted notes from the plumbing test. It was kind of early, 5 a.m. I wasn't thinking straight. I just got up, wanted to crank one of these videos up. I want to show you the actual one. This is the IFGC from the M2 test. Shows you my highlights from that test. Now, there's a lot of overlap, but I have a lot more highlights in this for the mechanical than I did for the plumbing. So let's just take a look at that really quick. Let me show you what it is. And just by way of review, the M2 test, the commercial mechanical inspector, it requires the IFGC and the IMC. So the IMC stuff I already showed you, nothing changes there. But let me just quickly run through the IFGC. So I'm going to show you my notes. So starting with Chapter 1, let's go ahead and crank this out. Approval. Alternative methods have to be approved, kind of like effectively an equivalency is what you'd call this. So if you have a smarter way to do it, just make sure that the code official approves the alternative material or design or method. It doesn't have the right to waive it. I want to be very clear. You cannot waive requirements, but you can do something that's equivalent. Power burner definition you need to know. Combustion air definition. Damper, draft hood. Flame safeguard, log lighter. These are all definitions that you should highlight. Quick disconnect device. I know I touched upon this on the last video I did, IMC IPC video, or excuse me, IMC IFGC video, but it gives you some options in terms of relief for gas appliance, and a quick disconnect is one of those, so you have to know that definition. Type B vent, I mentioned that there's different kind of vents. There's three vents. There's B, BW, and L. Depends on, as well as a chimney. So just the type B vent is a gas vent. So like BW is direct, what do you call it? Direct vent. And an L, what is an L? It's an oil, isn't it? I think that's an oil. Anyway, the point is just know that a type B vent is a gas vent. That's what the question was asked. Prohibited locations, keep in mind, I know I touched upon this before, asked the same questions. My IFGC I used for the P2 had the same thing, but you cannot have a gas appliance in a bathroom, storage closet, sleeping room, etc., unless it's a direct vent. Okay, you have to have the direct vent. So direct vent, there it is again. Gives a little bit more latitude when you have a direct vent. Okay, standard method. Okay, so when you're calculating like air in a building, so you don't have like a vent, and you're sizing it. Let's say you have like a basement or something like that, a finished basement. You're putting a mechanical room in. This is where this comes into play. So let's say you had 100,000 BTU furnace or 200,000 or something like that. You have to have 50 cubic feet volume of air per 1,000 BTU. So they'll ask you the question, you know, how many you have. I think this is how it was phrased. You have like, I'm trying to think. Just bear with me for a second. You have 1,000 cubic foot, like a 10 by 10 by 10. Let's say 1,000 cubic foot room. What BTU size furnace can that support? Okay, it's that kind of thing. And that's where this equation comes in. So it'd be 1,000 BTU divided by 50. 100,000 BTU, let's say, divided by 1,000. So that would be 100 times 50. That's 5,000 cubic feet, that kind of thing. That's how you figure that out. Okay, indoor opening size. So let's say you have an indoor. I want to be clear. This is indoor opening. I talked before about outdoor opening, but I want to talk about indoor opening. So if you have a furnace room, you have a furnace in a room that's not open to the outdoors. Okay, so it's 1 square inch per 1,000 BTU, And you have to have a minimum 100 square inches and one permanent opening. Yeah, let's see, indoor, come on, just bear with me. Indoor size, I haven't looked at this for quite a while, so I'm just, forgive me for flubbering. But I want you to be aware, it's all here. Minimum, let's see, the minimum dimension is always 3 inches. One permanent opening and one permanent opening shall commence within 12 inches of the bottom of the enclosure. Yeah, I don't think you have to have 2 inches on a interior one. That's only an outdoor one. But what I'm getting at is, so the magic number, it's 100 square inches as a minimum, 1 square inch per 1,000 BTU, 12 inches is a magic number, bottom of the enclosure. Okay, I guess it is 2. Permanent opening, it shall commence within 12 inches of the top and 1 permanent opening. Yeah, so I guess you do need top and bottom. It's been a while since I installed one of these, and it's been probably 6 months since I took this test, so bear with me. I can't remember exactly what I had here, but point is, just read that, you'll figure it out. Minimum dimension is 3 inches, okay? So this is inside opening size, and then you have the outdoor combustion air. This is the piece that always gets you. It's 1 square inch per 4,000 BTU. You got to double that. The question was very clear. What's the overall square footage for an outdoor opening? And overall, okay, let's say they give you, I can't remember, 200,000 BTU, it'd be 50, so 4,000 divided into 200,000, what is that, 50 square inches is what that is, but the actual number would be 100 square inches, because that has to be doubled. It's 1 square inch per 4,000 BTU per opening, okay? See, or I'm reading this, there it is, each opening shall have a minimum free area of 1 square inch per 4,000 BTU. So if they're asking for just one opening, it would be, 1 per 4,000, but if they're asking what is the overall opening size, it's 2 inches per 4,000. And there's, let's see, when communicating with outdoors through horizontal ducts, each opening shall have a minimum free area of not less than 1 square inch per 2,000 BTU. So you have to have double the square area if you're going through like a duct communicating with the outdoors rather than something that's permanently through the wall type thing. Okay, so just remember that. Let's see, I'm trying to think. Just bear with me. Single opening. 1 permanent opening method. There you go. Yeah, so if you have 1 permanent opening method instead of the 2 permanent opening method, it's 1 square inch per 3,000 BTU. And they have some parameters here in terms of what you need to do. So anyway, just know this section. There's a lot of questions that came up from that section. And forgive me for flubbing through it. It's been a little while since I looked at it. Mechanical combustion air supply. Okay, louvers. This does come up. Wood versus metal. It shall be assumed that wood louvers will have a 25% free area and metal louvers shall have a 75% free area. So when you're putting louvers on those openings, you have to derate it based upon these values, okay? So screens shall have a mesh size not smaller than 1/4 inch. So just keep that in mind. They'll ask you, you'll have the area spec'd, and then they'll say there's a wood louver on it. So what's the overall area need to be? So just keep in mind, let's say you had to have 100 square inches, but you have a 75% derating. That means you end up needing, 400 square inches type thing. So that's what it ends up happening there, if that makes sense. Okay, combustion air ducts, galvanized steel. Okay, they just have a bunch of stuff for your intake airs, so don't be too confused by this. Okay, so yeah, important section. Okay, guys, just keep in mind, this is a really important section. You need to know about your intake air for mechanical, the M2 test. And I mentioned before, manufacturer's instructions, it always comes up. If you give an option in terms of how you're installing a boiler or a water heater or whatever, it says, shall it be done by the IBC or the IFC or the IMC? And then it'll give you the fourth option, manufacturer's instructions. That's always the answer, manufacturer's instructions. Elevation of ignition source, 18 inches. This is because if you have a pilot light, you don't want heavier than air combustible gases to accumulate and ignite. You're not too worried about CH4, which is methane, because it floats and dissipates, but propane what is it, C3H8. It's a lot heavier than air, 44. It's about 1.5 times heavier than air, so it tends to accumulate. So that's why you have this prohibition. So yeah, just have some protections you need here and there. Let's see, let's keep on going. Okay, reduction of clearance with specified forms of protection. Let me see, what was that? Got to forgive me for a sec. I got to think about what that was. I don't want to take the time to try to remember. I know the gauge comes up a lot. So, okay, allowable clearances with specified protection. I had 18. Where the required clearance with no protection for appliance vent connector. So it's a connector. Keep in mind there's a difference between a connector and a vent, okay? Vent connector. So when you have a connector, it's a little bit different. Like it'll ask you, like you have a series of gas dryers in a, you know, one of those coin-operated laundromats. You have this connector in the back that goes up to a vent. Just keep in mind that when you see the term connector and vent, it may have different meanings. But so use column 1 for clearances above appliance or horizontal connector. Use column 2 clearance from appliance and vertical connector and single wall metal pipe. So you have column 1, column 2 instructions. I think the only questions I had were on column 2, which was for clearances from appliance, vertical connector, and single wall metal pipe. So if I had a 24 gauge connector, yeah, anyway, point is, these were specific answers. These were specific answers there. I just can't remember what that was, and I don't want to take the time to look. Grass piping shall not ever be used as a grounding electrode. That makes sense. Okay, so marking for other than steel pipe. This got me right here. So you need these markings for other than steel pipe. If you have a steel pipe, you don't need to worry about these markings. Yeah, so don't interconnect your meters. Okay, I mentioned in the IPC, in the IMC one that I did before, that there was 2 values to use. You could use let's see here, what was that? Let me just show it to you. It's going to be easier if I show it to you, right? But I don't know if I have it. Bear with me, okay, guys? I want to show you this because it's important to know this. Just can't remember where it was, so bear with me for a sec. Don't want to idle yourself or your time. My objective here is simply to convey the information that's going to make it the easiest to pass this test. So I'm trying to figure out where that was. I have it marked in the other IPC. So this is the IPC, the IFGC I used for the P2 test. So I know I have it marked back here, so just bear with me, okay? Just bear with me, because this is valuable to know. If I can just remember exactly where it is. There it is. Okay. You see how it says 1,000 BTU per cubic foot there? The reality is, if you look at other sources, it's 1,100 BTU per cubic foot. A little bit more conservative in terms of the demands you need. And that has to do with sizing your gas lines, okay? So sometimes I've seen this in both cases, 1,000 or 1,100. Typically, because this is in the appendix, they're going to be looking for 1,000 BTU. But what I'm getting at is if the number in the answers, it corresponds to something a little smaller, check the 1,100 BTU per cubic foot, okay? And that will... That might be the answer. So they actually use both, and they'll throw you. So just be aware of that. It's just one of those funky things that I think they use 1,000 because it's easier to remember rather than the 1,100. Okay, yeah. So sizing. So let me just show you. I know I went through this in the other IMC test I did, but how to size this, how to use this. You go ahead, look how they have this set up. You have your delivery here, your input, your service line basically is here. This is a house, let's say. You have a range over here, So you have a gas range, you have a clothes dryer, you have a heating furnace, and you have a water heater, okay? So it's 35,000 plus 100,000 plus 75,000 plus 35,000. Whatever that number happens to be, I think it's 220,000. 220,000 divided by 1,000, okay, 1,000 BTU per cubic foot. Okay, 1,000 BTU per cubic feet, or 1,100. Divide that 220,000 by 1,000, you end up with, what is that, 20, why can't I think, 220? Yeah, 220. So you end up with 220, okay? So over here, all these numbers, these are CFH, cubic feet per hour. So I'd look for like 220 CFH, wherever it happens to be. So like, anyway, you find a number there that corresponds with what you do. So like right here, 220. See how it's 220? And then what that tells me is if I'm running 80 feet long at 1 inch, I can deliver 220 cubic feet an hour. That's how this table looks. Now the ones I've circled, those are the actual answers. So if I was given like, let's say I was given, my length is 90 feet, my delivery I had to do was like 50. What size pipe do I need? Well, there's 52 there at 90, and it would be half inch diameter for your Schedule 40. So that's how you look that up. All right, let me keep on trucking through here. Okay, where are we at? Thou shalt not use cast iron. Wrought iron, you can never use less than Schedule 10. There's your standard that it has to meet. Keep in mind your reference standards are always in the back. If you have any issues, I've showed this to you before. Let's see, what is that? Just bear with me, okay, folks? So anyway, what chapter? It's right before this. I got to look at it. So reference standards, okay? Always go to reference standards if you're asked on the test, well, what listing corresponds with wrought iron piping, whatever it happens to be. And just to save myself some time, ASME B36.10. Let's see, let's go to ASME. Yeah, see, B36.10. So the question was, what standard does my steel have to meet? My stainless steel or wrought iron pipe, whatever it happened to be. And I have it circled there, but if I can't remember what it is, just go back here and look through them. They only give you 4, right? On your multiple choice question, they only give you 4 potential answers. Just look at each of those answers and you'll find one that matches most closely. In this case, you can see B36.10M. It's welded and seamless wrought steel pipe. Bam, you're done. It's pretty straightforward. But just remember, this is an important resource to have to look it up. Type K or L, I think the answer was type K in this case. You can never use aluminum, period, outside or underground. You just can't do it. Same thing with like nails, fasteners that are aluminum in like, rot-resistant, pressure-treated wood type thing. So just keep in mind, aluminum's taboo for the most part. Okay, CPVC fittings shall not be used to supply gas. Let's see here. Yeah, it shows you the number of threads to cut. I think some of this, like I said, there's overlap. Some of this was also in the plumbing test, the IFGC I showed you, which was I used 2 separate IFGCs in the plumbing and mechanical test just to have different notes, okay, just to help you out. So this was the one I used for M2, the commercial mechanical inspector. Yeah, threaded, welded. Press connect fitting. Let's see. So joints, so there's plastic pipe, allowable connections there. So let me just go through. You highlight the stuff if you're going for the M2 test, just highlight it. I don't want to read everything and fumble through it. It takes me, rather than go through and prep for this video, I just opened it up. It's been, quite a few months since I've even opened this up. So rather than doubling my time, I just thought I'd open this up and go ahead and do it ad hoc so you can see it. It takes me a little longer, makes me look a little less authoritative, but it gets this out promptly. Piping installed underground beneath buildings is prohibited except where the piping is encased in a conduit. Okay, so that came up on the plumbing test. It came up on the mechanical test. Just want to emphasize: thou shalt not bury pipe in a crawl space in your house. You can't do that. Tracer came up. There were multiple questions on tracers. So yellow insulated copper tracer wire. Shall be installed adjacent to underground non-metallic piping. So this is applicable to non-metallic piping. Gives you the tracer wire size of 18 gauge. So there's some stuff here. This is an important section. Need to know tracer information for finding that pipe. Okay. Oxygen's never used as to pressurized fuel gas lines. So manometer came up. Test pressure shall be measured with the manometer, or another. They give you another option there. Just keep that in mind. Okay, slope 1/4 inch per 15 feet. Okay, I'm trying to think what we had here. Okay, shut-off valves in accordance with. Okay, shall comply with a standard that is applicable for the pressure and application in accordance with Table 409.11. And then you have the valve has to meet the standard. If appliance shutoff valve application up to half PSIG have to meet this. Okay, so the question was, what standard applies, and for a 1/2 inch valve, a shutoff valve, and it was here. That's how you find that. Okay, so where do shutoff valves have to be? So in a common system serving more than one building, shutoff valves shall be installed outdoors at each building. So if you have multiple systems, it's outdoors. And appliance shutoff valve. So you have an appliance shutoff valve. So if you have multiple house lines, it's outside. If you have an appliance shutoff valve, keep in mind, it's in the same room, and it shall be within 6 feet. Okay, located in the same room as the appliance. Those are the two requirements. Okay, that's what they're going to ask you. Yeah, just read some of the stuff. I'm not going to read it all. Don't have time. Appliance and manufactured home connections. Let's see. There's a bunch of stuff here. So we had multiple questions here. The flexible lines always less than 6 feet across the board. You have 6 feet there. 6 feet here, a very common thing, okay? Where installed in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. Yeah, even here, so corrugated stainless steel tubing, less than 6 feet. So this, I highlighted this because it's an important answer. They asked this multiple times. Less than 6 feet is for a flexible tube, gas line. Prohibited locations and penetrations. Connectors shall not be concealed within or extended through walls. So we're not talking ducts or vents, it's the connectors. It's the connectors. So keep that in mind. Connectors shall have the capacity for total demand of the connected appliance. Like I said, there's a subtle difference between a connector and a vent or a duct. Just keep that in mind. Okay, location and property. What am I talking about? Oh, fuel dispensing requirements. Okay, storage and dispensing equipment not located in vaults, less than 10 feet from the nearest building or property. Could be built on. Okay, piping support. Important table. Look how many times I saw stuff. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I saw 5 potential questions from this table here. That's why I tab this. And that's not just exclusively M2. I've seen, like, this is the same code you'd use for, like, the building codes and standards for your certified building official. They're going to ask this there as well. So just keep that in mind. But you can see, like, supportive piping. Okay, so, yeah, just keep in mind you have spacing of supports based on your dimension. I have smooth wall, steel pipe, So yeah, so like, anyway, the point is, so you have steel pipe, copper pipe type thing. I'd have to look more carefully, but just know that table's there. It's important. It's really important. Door swing. Okay, this is important too. You cannot swing within 12 inches of the vent terminal for your door when you're placing it. Something to look at. Type of venting system to be used. Okay, so if you have a gas and oil burning appliance, it's a type L. Listed vented wall furnaces, type BW. So type B gas vent. So like I said before, there's a type B, type BW, and type L, and then chimney. So just know this table tells you where to use them. So like if you have a direct vent, it's type BW type thing. Okay, solid fuel burning appliances. An appliance shall not be connected to a chimney flue serving a separate appliance designed to burn solid fuel. So you get that's an actual question. An appliance has to be, you cannot have like a fireplace and then have like a separate attachment going into that fireplace for something else. It's not going to work. Okay, gas vent termination. Let me see. Just look at my notes. Look what I've highlighted and underlined. I just can't read it all. Yeah, so you have to be at least 5 feet above the appliance you're served with a type B or L. It's not the case with the type BW. Keep that in mind. A lot more stuff here than I saw in the plumbing test. This gives you slope and how high your distance has to be between your roof, the highest point of connection, and the top of your vent. Okay, so that's what this gives you. Okay, yeah, I apologize, BW, a little bit confused there. Forgive me for that. Just read my notes in terms of how to use that vent. Okay, vent system. And you just got to forgive me. I deal with a fire code like daily. I almost never deal with a mechanical code, so or the fuel gas code. So I'm going back from memory in terms of how I crammed for this and studied for this. I had to get the M2 for my Master Code Professional. It's just not something I do all the time though. But I'm giving you the notes that were on the test that help you pass. I did pass the test, and I found this to be the best way to do it. Through wall vent terminal clearance. There you go, direct vent. This gives you some specs for that. Gives you sizing, minimum clearance for direct vent terminals, clearance to window or door that is openable. Okay, so I'm trying to think what the actual question was. Clearance to non-mechanical air supply, same clearance as for row B, 12 inches. Clearance above paved sidewalk, 7 feet, shall not be located above public walkways or other areas. So you have to be at least 7 feet and shall not be located above public walkways or other areas. So 12 inches, I think, was the magic number for I had one question here and one question here. 7 feet and 12 inches were the answers. All right, let's see here. Two or more appliances connected to a single vent or chimney. So where two or more vent connectors enter a common vent chimney flue, the smaller connectors shall enter at the highest level. Now keep in mind, I mentioned before you can't do it with wood burning chimneys. So this would not be wood burning chimneys. This would be like gas chimney type things. So just keep that in mind. Reductions. So you're allowed some reductions here. 2 inches, what was that? A listed appliance with draft hoods. I can't remember. How did I evaluate the 2-inch clearance? Yeah, I went back. Gotcha. So this is multiple table. Let me see what I went. I went way back here, didn't I? Just bear with me. Okay, clearances. Minimum clearances from single wall metal pipe to combustible materials shall be in accordance with table 503.10.5. The clearance from single wall metal pipe to combustible materials shall be permitted to be reduced where the combustible material is protected as specified for vent connectors in table 308.2. So go back to table 308.2. Let's just quickly look what 308.2 said. 308.2, where am I at here? There I am. Reduction of clearances with specified forms of protection. So I had a 2-inch there. So what was the, yeah, see, 6-inch. See how it's 6-inch? So I have 6 inches there. Required clearance with no protection. Minimum distance from combustible material is 6 inches, but I can reduce it to 2 inches if I have a protection covering. Yeah, so if I had like a shield made of at least 24 gauge, instead of having 6-inch separation to combustible materials, I can go to 2 inches with that protection. That's how this works. So just keep that in mind, that 6 inches drops to 2 inches based on that. A little bit convoluted with multiple tables, but it's important to know where that is. Okay, let's see where else we are. Slope, vent connector. Yeah, so remember, vent connector is different than your vent or duct. It's a 1/4 inch per foot. Draft hoods, man, I'm tired already. You got to forgive me. So just highlight and read the stuff. I'm not going to go through and try to remember and read it. It just is too hard on me this morning. So it's better for you to have these notes. And if I see something that really stands out that's important, I'll show you. I had multiple questions on dampers, not just one. So dampers come up anytime they say that it's a mechanical damper that you can set. It's a thou shalt not. But look at this. Look at the exemption. It's an interlock. You can have a damper in a vent, in a commercial cooking appliance vent, only if it's interlocked between the cooking appliance and the exhaust system. You can do it. And for some reason, somewhere this came up where I had to know that. I don't remember where it was, but it was an ICC test. But otherwise, it's always thou shalt not have a damper, okay? Mechanical damper, a damper that would, block the vent, the airflow on your exhaust for like a cooking appliance. Type B double wall gas used for single wall type B. What was the question on this? Height is 20. I'm trying to think here, folks, so bear with me, okay? What was the question? I honestly don't remember the question, but it says C504.2.1. Anyway, no, this was the answer, okay? It was 165. Actually, I had natural, nat. Why can't I think here? Just bear with me. Anyway, just highlight the stuff I highlighted and think it through. I can't remember what the question was, but I figured it out. It just takes me a little while to figure it out. Okay, special appliances, decorative appliance for installation in fireplaces. Oh yeah, manufacturer's instructions. There it is again. Always comes up. Manufacturer's instructions. If it gives you standards and it gives you manufacturer's instructions, pick manufacturer's instructions. It's always the answer. Okay. Duct furnaces, manufacturer's instructions. There it is again. Okay, what do you got here? Air supply. I had 2 questions out of this one. And just because I have an M and 2 questions, I probably had multiple references I had to look at. I just don't remember. But keep in mind, you can answer a question just by knowing this air supply section. So magic numbers, ICC loves magic numbers, 4 cubic feet per minute per 1,000 BTU. Air to direct fired industrial air heaters shall be taken from the building, duct to direct fired industrial heaters shall incorporate a means to supply outside ventilation to air in the space at a rate of not less than 4 cubic feet per 100,000 BTU. Okay, so what you have here, I've seen, you can actually bring in a fuel gas powered like salamander heater into a structure, but you do have to have a certain amount of air changes out capability. So you have to have some openings to the exterior. I've dealt with stuff like this in like legacy buildings at work where I do my day job, because you have to have a heater in there. Like your fire protection suppression systems, you always have to maintain at 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So how do you do that if your heat's down? And you could use one of those big gas-fueled appliances, but you have to have outdoor air so nobody dies of carbon monoxide poisoning type thing. Let's see, sauna heaters. Sauna heaters shall be equipped with a thermostat that will limit room temperature to 194 degrees Fahrenheit. Right there. Magic numbers. Dampers, let's see, forced air warm furnaces. Yeah, see, so dampers, you cannot put a volume damper in the air inlet, period. I don't think there's any exemptions at all on that. Because you'd end up producing carbon monoxide and killing people. All right, unit heaters. Suspended type unit heaters, 18 and 6 inches. So it's clearance to combustibles at the side, 6 inches above the top. Okay. So bear with me. 621. What was 621? Unvented room heaters. Unvented room heaters, they do allow them actually. Believe it or not, you can have unvented heaters that like just put the gases right in your room, but you can't put them in a, let's see, unvented room heaters shall not be installed within a group A, E, and I. And I don't think you could have them in a, I'm trying to think, can you have these in a bedroom? Item 4, what's item 4? Item 4 for bedroom. I actually thought about this and identified it. I'd have to go back and look and see what I was referencing item 4, but keep in mind there, oh, section 303, that is. Go to 303.3, item 4 for bedroom. I don't remember what it was. In this case, the answer was group A. It says, of these, like, I'm sure there's certain allowances for our occupancies, but what the question probably was, I'm trying to remember what it was. You have like a group A, group F, group S, group U. Which of those groups is prohibited from having an unvented room heater? The answer was group A. That's what it would have been. Okay, the aggregate input rating of all unvented appliances in a room shall not exceed 20 BTU per hour per cubic foot. Volume, blah, 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 blah. Just read those. So oxygen is normally 21%. You're allowed to go down to 18%. Try to even think if OSHA allows that. I can't remember, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Water heaters. Okay, not a storage closet. So go back to 303.3. That's where the prohibitions on appliances was. You're not allowed to have water heaters in a storage closet. Gas-fired water heater, obviously. All right, let's zip through this. A few things in the appendix I need to look at really quick. Let's see here. What was this? Table 402.4, parenthesis 2. Okay, so that table we looked at before, let's see, where was it? No, just bear with me. I want you to see this. 402.4.2, maybe I don't have it marked. There it is. Okay, right here. So this is the table it's referencing, and this tells you how to interpret it. So, so what you do is go to the next longer one. Length, or the next longer length of the table does not give the exact length. This is the only length used in determining the size of any section of gas piping. So if you're caught, let's say you had 91 here, and you're 91 feet long. Let's say at 52. So you're 91, and what I'm getting at is if you're 91 feet long and you had like 50, you got to go to the next one is what I'm getting at. I don't want to take the time to think it through, but this tells you how to interpret that table. All right, keep on going here. Let's see here. What do I got? Asbestos cement type B. Had a bunch of stuff over here. What was that? I can't remember what I had there, but just some things that I saw and thought about. So these came up. This is a really good, yeah, this gives you all the offset distances. Okay, horizontal 10 feet, vertical 3 feet. From so you have a forced air inlet versus the output here from like a vent. Mechanical draft vent terminal right there. So yeah, here's some important notes. Type B single wall vent clearance to combustibles may be reduced to 2 inches. I showed you that. Anyway, yeah, there's some stuff there. Okay, that was it, guys. That was it. So, hey, I apologize for cycling you guys. A little bit more information, though. I'll do a plumbing, a P2, quick review in terms of my notes. Little scatterbrained this morning. Apologize if I didn't sound very confident, but you can see my notes and get a feel for expectations on the test. Just go from those notes, highlight what I had there, and I think you'll be in a good spot. Anyway, I appreciate your time. Good luck on the test. Let me know if you have any problems passing it that might help you with your mechanical piece. Your M2 specifically. You have a good one. Catch you later.